and I hear, her whisper in my ear, tap, or I'll effing kill you.
Whoa.
Is what she said.
Trekking heavier, traveling light. There's one thing that's right wherever I go. That's where I am.
Hey everybody, welcome to This Week in Zoltan. I am Zoltan, and this is my podcast. Those are some screaming women. I don't know if you can hear that. There is a bachelorette party going over there, and there's a couple gay guys in G-strings, and those women think they're straight. But, let them live their fantasy. No, this is not the normal studio. We are on location in Austin, Texas at the beautiful Creek and Cave Comedy Club. I'm here this weekend. And this is their podcast studio space. But more importantly than that, I got my main man, my feature this weekend, and my good friend ever since I've been doing comedy back in San Diego till now, Mr. Bob Hansen on the show this week.
Rock and roll, daddy.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
You knew it was coming. You got to say the stuff and do the thing, my man. This is so awesome. We're here at the Creek and the Cave in Austin, 611 East 7th Avenue. There's a hoedown. We came in, there was a hoedown. Try the Wagyu sliders. There was a hoedown with the women. They were dancing. We came in. They were rocking to Shania Twain's "Man, I Feel Like a Woman," and
yes.
I hung out for a minute, and I could go for one myself.
So,
yeah.
So when we came in, they were doing like the male. I didn't know they were strippers. I just thought they were regular guys with abs because they're wearing jeans and a vest, and they were leading a square dance with all the women.
Correct.
And then he comes to tell me like, no, they were full on stripping an hour ago for these women. And that reminds me of the advice you gave where it's like the movie Jaws where they blow up the shark in the first 10 minutes. And then what do you do for 2 hours? You're just trying to facilitate coitus with a flaccid. How do you do?
Yeah.
Like what are you? You put the cart in front of the horse. Like I tried to clean up your statement as much as I could.
And you did great. Imagine if Richard Dreyfuss and the other people in Jaws, I forget, and the mayor were just talking about the blowing up a shark for 2 hours.
For 2 hours.
And that was that. Yeah, I didn't realize those men had their genitals exposed earlier.
Oh, they were apparently they went full pickle over there.
Really?
My man Mark is saying they might have gone full pickle over there.
And they went from that to "Man, I Feel Like a Woman."
Yes.
Huh.
You know what I just realized we walked in on? We just walked in on a corporate gig for strippers. Because, strippers are kind of like comedians. You get your regular weekend slots. You know, if you're still newer, you're probably working Tuesday. But once you're more seasoned, you're a Friday, Saturday night guy like you and I in the comedy world, of course. But they're over here at 5 p.m. doing a bachelorette party. I'm assuming it's a bachelorette party. And this is their corporate gig. This is like us doing a Christmas party going on after the ugly sweater contest. This is that if you're in a G-string with abs and you got rent to pay.
I wonder what conversation like the male strippers have when they tell their old road war stories. Like, do they drive up and down the highways and byways and cracks and crevices of Americana, Daddy? And do they tell their stories about, I remember the time at 611 East 7th Street, Creek in a Cave, try the fish and chips. Remember that time they were rocking out to "Man, I Feel Like a Woman," and then those two idiot comedians came in? And they made fun of us on a podcast?
Yes. Well, listen, I just pieced this together. I'm sure it's been said before, but this is the reaction that women give to male strippers. Complete opposite of the reaction men give to female strippers.
Yeah.
It's, if you ever been to, it's men are just, women are, woo!
Yeah.
Amazing. Men keep it all on the inside.
Yeah.
And we just not blink, stare like hunters and gatherers looking. It's what a weird, inverse. And it also shows that women are maybe less sexually predatorially minded in the sense that the entire show wasn't the male stripping. They're like, well, can we sing and dance now? Sure, and then they went from that to the male. I don't know.
A great poet once said, "The best thing about being a woman is the prerogative to have a little fun." I can't think of who it was.
Was it Mark Twain?
It might have been Mark Twain.
It might have been Mark Twain.
He's the guy who sang "You're Still the One."
You're still the one.
He was a great Canadian.
Yeah.
But one thing I notice about it seems to be there's friends of there's all ages of the females, hooting and hollering and everything else. Whereas with men at a strip club, you're either 18 or you're 50.
Yes.
And 18, maybe you're with buddies. 50, you are alone.
You are alone, and you think you're welcome there, but you're really not.
Yeah.
Please leave your wallet and go back outside, you creepy old man.
You are, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You do not.
We are the complete opposite, you and I, Bob, of everything that is Austin. And I realized it a couple hours ago when we had to go to Target.
Yeah.
And out of everything we've seen, whether it's been barbecue or the wild nightlife on 6th Street or whatever, the shows that we've done, the thing that burst our eyes open with excitement the most is we were at Target and we went to the action figure aisle.
Yes.
And we looked at pro wrestling action figures of 80s wrestlers.
Yeah.
And we were as excited as those women going, ah!
Right,
We were over there going, whoa, is that a 92 Jake Roberts?
You know, and what's great is that in a weird way, both those women and us in the same 2-hour time span were completely fascinated by men in spandex.
Yes. But we were creepily staring, going, wow, they got his outfit perfectly right.
We were in a place where children were supposed to be.
You know what else we did? I don't know if you noticed this. There was a chubby kid in front of us with his mother, admiring the wrestling action figures first, and you and I kind of pushed them out by creepily standing behind them. And we were like, can you hurry up? This isn't even for your era. This isn't even for your generation. Get out of here.
That's what's bananas. Is you go to the toy aisle for children in 2023, it's G.I. Joe, Transformers, He-Man, Star Wars, Super Mario, Ninja Turtles.
There's nothing new.
No.
It's everything from our era.
It's over.
There is nothing from, I think the newest thing they had there, I'm trying to remember. Actually, no. It was all from the 80s. There wasn't even anything from the 90s there.
No.
Well,
the 90s weren't as much fun.
The 90s, I think, had Hercules and Xena. Those were the two big shows. Okay. I remember I had a Hercules action figure.
Right.
And Xena was hot, but...
Yeah, everyone wanted to have sexual relations with her in a nude with their genitals.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. I'm not wrong.
No.
Yeah.
No, you're not wrong.
That's how it's done. I was frustrated at Target. You could see me getting frustrated because it was so hard to urinate out of my penis like a man at Target.
Yeah, that's all he wanted to do. He wanted to urinate out of his penis like a man.
Like a real man.
Yeah.
I don't buy this woke AF 2023 nonsense. I do it out of my penis like a man. And it was so impossible to do. We had to go to 2 different Targets. The first one, there was a code, and there was a family in front of me, and there was probably like a waiting list, and maybe like a 2-factor authentication thing I got to do on my electronic telegraphs and all this stuff on my mobile device. And nevertheless, like the second one, it was just I had to go out of the mall. It was part of a mall that wasn't a mall, and it was a whole issue. And the code is 431, the one on Guadalupe Street.
The one or Guadalupe Street if it's a racist phone.
The racist Google Maps said it was Guadalupe Street, but get cultured.
I feel like they're purposely being louder. Does that feel that way? They're like, I think they're doing a podcast in there. Is this bleeding through on the audio? A tiny bit? Okay, good. It's not that bad.
Thank God.
It's only for us to block out.
Okay, good.
I love it.
They were rocking out to the pop country song, Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy. I'm not kidding.
Save a horse.
That was playing during the last conversation.
I don't know if it's the lack of... I'm hungover from meat right now.
Yeah.
I've had so much meat since Tuesday.
You're drunk on carcass.
I am hungover on protein, and I could use a little greenery, but... My tolerance for anything right now is so low that I want a tidal wave, an earthquake, maybe a fire, but we lock the doors. I'll sacrifice myself as long as it's guaranteed that everyone in here dies.
I think we'll
mainly
be safe
everything going on over there.
We'll be safe from the fire behind that wooden door over there with the steel knob that will just fry our fingers off.
Can you imagine the news story? There was a giant fire at the creek in the cave, a bachelorette party, and 2 dorks talking on microphones and were the victims.
And 2 idiots are like, okay, so you're Brad Pitt. That don't impress me much. Is that all the Shanias? That's 4, right? We're good?
I think that's what it is. Yeah. I think the songs that probably do best at bachelor parties, Shania Twain and anything from Pink.
Pink's good.
Yeah. So much like they haven't come out with new toys since the 80s, I don't think they've come out with enough women empowerment songs to sing at a bachelorette party since like the late 90s, early 2000s.
That's why J-Lo and Shakira look the same.
Because
they're not allowed to age at this point.
they're not. We got to keep them around.
Hollywood is giving them anti-aging drugs against their own will, probably.
Yes.
I'm going to confirm this. Just to keep them shaking butts at Super Bowls.
Shaking butts at Super Bowls.
That's what you do.
Buttocks.
Go ahead. You want to tell it, so please.
I have to tell this.
Do this now. And I want to have some water to stay hydrated and prevent fatigue and headaches. But go ahead.
You're the best. So Bob just mutters to himself all the time. I love it. And he does this thing on stage that a lot of people think is a character. It's not a character. This is who the man is, 24/7, 365, daddy. And so we're just driving. Sometimes he'll mutter 9/11. And we're driving, and there's like a girl who walked by in yoga pants or something. And we're all in conversation. Mark's in the back seat. We're talking about something else, clearly. And then out of nowhere, I just hear Bob go, buttocks.
I did.
And then it was you were acknowledging something that was in the corner of our eyes, and you're like, buttocks. And then you told me later, you're like, I forgot there were people there.
Yeah.
And I normally say that out loud, but by myself.
Right.
And yeah.
I'll just walk through Target. Usually my own Targets, the good ones out in San Diego.
Yeah, the good Target.
Where there's big and there's restrooms you urinate out of and everything else into. And I'll see the buttocks and I'll just mutter to myself, buttocks.
Buttocks.
Because it's fairly clean language. I mean, there's a level of creepiness, but at the same time.
I think it's creepier than if you just went ass.
Yeah. When Al Pacino lost his mind?
Yes.
I like to think that the movie Heat with Pacino and De Niro was filmed, like all the scenes were filmed in order that they happened. Because in the middle of the movie, Al Pacino loses his mind for the next 32 years.
That's so funny.
And it's in the middle. He's a serious detective, grizzled cop guy. And then he's grilling the Hank Azarian Simpsons guy in Vegas for one reason or another. And he's explaining Val Kilmer's marriage to Charlize Theron. I don't know these people, whatever.
Yeah.
Some hot blonde lady. And he goes, and you know what so-and-so sees, and you know why he's married to her? And the Simpsons guy, I don't know, I'm scared, I'm a wiener or whatever. And Pacino goes, because she's got a great ass. And he's crazy for the next 30 years. Yeah.
You think that was when that last, with the synapse in his brain snapped?
That was the end
and then led him to go down that, I'm just a lunatic now?
And that's it. And he'll hold it together for half of Donnie Brasco. Yeah, and that's kind of what's happened to me because I go to Target a lot to look at the new He-Man figures.
Look at the new He-Man figure.
And the yoga pants are getting tighter, and the sports bras are skimpier, and sometimes the ladies, they wear these sexy nursing outfits because they work at the hospital. They're on lunch break.
Just the scrubs.
I think they're just nurses.
Yeah, I think they're just nurses on lunch break.
It's more and more like a gentleman's establish all the time.
No, it's not.
It is. I feel like I should give a guy $20 before I go through the sliding doors. And a suit.
It's a 2-drink minimum. You just open a case of Red Bulls.
That's right. And you just put it in his jacket for him. You go, thanks, Paulie. His name's Paulie.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I guess that would be the ultimate gentleman's establishment if it had a toy section of 80s action figures and new He-Man figures that come in.
Right. That would be my ultimate gentleman's establishment. It's like, sir, can I get you a cigar or a He-Man?
And the aisles are just labeled, and one of the aisles just says buttocks.
And an arrow, so I know where to go. I had another one, too, not to get too... I think there's another one. I think we were driving by somebody, and I just go, the bosoms are ample.
The bosoms are... Bob. Yeah, well, this is the... I don't know if... I think... I was about to say, I don't know if this has been the best introduction of Bob on the podcast or if it was the best introduction. It was good to go backwards to get to where we are.
I like how you explain you're in a state of mind because of your meat hangover where everything annoys you. But now I'll talk to Bob for an hour. Because that'll cure all. More cured than your salted meats.
I think I'm actually getting gout. I noticed that after we had barbecue, I got out of the car, as I was walking back to the apartment, I felt like my big toe.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, the gout's coming in.
You're getting a gout. Yeah, I had developed some bad gout. I have one of my bones. Gout goes good with the fancy red boots that I'm not wearing where they squish my foot.
Yes.
It's gout's. Yeah, it'll get you. You got to have eat inflammatory things. Like you got to get rid of some of your gluten. and your turmeric. You have to have
Turmeric,
your
yeah.
turmeric pills. Yeah, I take those sometimes.
You take the turmeric pills?
Yeah, I own a cane.
You own a
I
cane?
I needed a cane for a while.
Would
Yeah.
you hurt?
The right one is really bad. The left one's a little bit, but the
Your
right,
toes.
yeah, it's almost always the big toe. So it's like all jutted.
So your gout got so bad you got a cane.
Immediately I needed one.
Wow.
I needed a cane. So I was working a 12-hour shift at some big tech company, like a 12-hour night shift, 7 p.m. to a.m. And it was a temp job, and I had to come back with a cane after a few days.
What were you doing at that temp job?
I was testing microchips.
Whoa.
And
with a cane?
Yeah, I stopped going. I had to walk back and forth to his warehouse, but I stopped going. It was a whole thing. It was a fight. I'm trying not to name them, but yeah, it was a whole.
No, we won't name them.
thing,
But I
yeah.
just pictured you, Bob, with
Yeah.
a cane shuffling around testing microchips.
Well,
and I'm
that's
like, that's
how-
like the start of a superhero movie. You're the evil genius. You're the
just so
evil
bitter.
genius that's starting the new X-Men or something. You're like, ah.
Basically, yeah. I'm like, you know what? I've had enough time to think about it. I'm mad at my cane. I'm mad at my gout. I'm mad at my microchips. And I'm just gonna have to somehow I blame Batman.
Yes.
I know his identity. I don't even care. Like, it's one of those villains. Like the top villains know who he is, but don't even say anything.
Right. I love that. So that was a temp job. But you're not working right now.
No,
You're living
no,
on
thank
the
you
land.
for
You're living
still-
off the fat of the land.
Yeah. No, I'm not.
I meant that
not
as a
working.
compliment.
Yeah, I know. Really, Jesus. No, I got laid off from a temp. I got one of those fake firings where it's a layoff. They don't say it's a layoff, so they just say, "Oh, we upped the numbers and we trumped up your quotas and this, that, and the other thing, and you didn't meet the crazy number we made up, so now we have to get rid of you." But then you find out they did to like 100 people.
Right.
So that was fun, and I just said, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm just gonna pet dogs, and I have 2 dogs, and I just pet them.
I wonder if that was every homeless man with the dogs thing that happened. They got laid off, and they're like, you know what? I'm just gonna pet dogs, and then they went out on the street.
I don't even know.
Not that you're gonna end up on the street, but that was the first
Well, we
thought that
take
I
4
went to.
walks a day, so we're temporarily on the street.
Yeah.
But we go right back, so it's not as.
How many homeless people with dogs are actually just taking them for a walk and they just don't buy new clothes because they're not into fashion?
When you have dogs, you just accept that you have old rugs and old clothes and furriness and stuff. So I'm wondering, maybe they're just good dog owners.
Yeah, maybe
And
they
not-
are just amazing
not
dog
actually
owners.
unhoused humans or whatever the saying is. They're
Unhoused. Yeah.
gender
Unproperty.
normative.
Yeah.
Binary canary something. I don't know what it is.
canary.
Whatever it is.
They're allergic to dwellings.
They're allergic. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
They're
Anti-dwellers.
I was for a while working on this joke. It kind of worked, but I was talking about the homeless situation, and I was like, based on the news, I don't know what we're doing for homeless people other than counting them. That seems,
Right. I love that joke.
yeah, but that seems to be all we do. Is like every few months there's like the new homeless census, and like now there's 4,000 of them. I'm like, who's asking for this head count? Who's in charge of helping the homeless? And they're going, well, first we got to count them, and then we'll recount them, and then we'll count them a third time, and then maybe we can help them. Not more showed up, count them again. And I just imagine like someone sitting on the street, and then someone with a clipboard and a vest coming up, and they're thinking, oh, maybe this guy will help. And then he gets closer, and he's just 27, 28, 29. Like he's just counting. You're like, oh, are you here to help? No. Shut up. You're going to make me lose count. 48, 49, 50. Are we counting the dog or are we not counting the dog? What are we doing?
What new guy got sacked with homeless duck goose?
That has to be rough. Like if your job is helping the homeless, like, and you really want to hit your quotas because you see what can become all day, every day.
Yeah.
If you don't have this job, you're like, oh man, I'm going to be next to this guy I'm counting.
There you go.
You know?
Well, that's why I've been applying to jobs to take it back. I've been applying to jobs or looking at entry-level funeral jobs.
Entry level.
So I figure, well, what else is economy proof, right?
Why is every job you pick kind of the backstory for a villain?
It's
It's microchips.
Yeah.
It's I want to work
Microchips
with the
a
bodies.
cane. Like, oh my God. I've had a lot of wacky jobs. I was once a door guy for 3 days. I was a door guy at a strip club in San Diego. I was the daytime stripper door guy
Oh, I didn't know you had that job.
for 3 days at it's either Pacers or it might have been Larry Flynt's Hustler Club at the time.
Okay.
This is in 07, so I don't think it matters that I named. But anyway, I mean, I was the one who quit. So, but it was the most depressing thing. I worked there from 10 a.m. to like 6 p.m. I set up, and
Who
I just,
comes in at 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.?
it's ugly. Not a lot, but they leave an impression.
They leave an impression.
Like, have you ever walked a stripper to her car at 3 p.m. thinking this is weird, and then you realize, oh, they totally need a walk to the car at 3 p.m.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was bananas, but it was depressing. It was just like, it was the same dudes for all 3 days. You know, you recognize them fast. But I would stand outside with an awning over my head, answering the phones, and basically my job, 90% of my job was answering the phone. And whoever they asked for, I hate to use Candy's the stereotypical name, but at least one of them's always named Candy. They have to have a Candy by law. And I would answer the phone and say, no, she's not here. And don't even look up if she's there or not. It doesn't matter if she's there.
Yeah, she's not
Whoever
here.
they asked for is, what's her name? Cinnamon there or whatever. You know, that's, no, but our buddy Jesse has a great joke about Cinnamon. But no, they say, is so-and-so there? And you just go, no. And that was my job. She ain't here. No, I don't know when she's working next. Sorry. Goodbye. And
I would have loved if you kept that job, and as you're checking IDs, you just go, buttocks. Ample buttocks.
Well, it's so dark in there. So whenever I had to walk in for whatever reason, I didn't see anything because you go from the super crazy bright light into the dark and everything. I would just see purple spots. And I was so glad I never had to run in and break up a fight.
Yeah.
Because they even told me, be careful when you run in if you get called in an emergency because you're just going to see purple spots.
Yeah.
So you don't know what you're swinging at or who's swinging at you. But anyway, Candy's not here. And I had to quit to a guy named Sharky. Or wait, it was just Shark. My bad. Sharky's a fake guy I made up that works at a radio station, but that's not important.
His name's the Shark?
Just Shark.
Just Shark, regular Shark.
And I hope there's not it's okay that I name him because I don't think that's his Christian name.
No.
But I had to tell a guy named Shark that I quit, and that was very nerve-wracking. But
by the way, someone called for candy.
Yeah.
Can you tell Cinnamon that someone has called for candy? Sorry, Shark. I have to tender my resignation.
Like, why is Bob the guy with the most normal name here? Everyone else has a wacky name.
I love that you weren't professional enough to at least give him a 2 weeks notice.
No,
you can just walk off at one of those jobs. You don't have to be all professional.
I just felt it was just freaking me out. I didn't really like it, and that was the end of my gentleman's club career.
Yeah, you're not the only one. Jimmy O Yang used to work but he wasn't a bouncer. He was a DJ. I think he talked about it once on Conan, but he was doing spots in San Diego when he was around, and he talked about it. He's like, yeah, I'm a strip club DJ. And I'm like, what's that like? He's like, it's kind of weird. It's not, I thought it would be like stand-up, but it wasn't really like stand-up. I'm like, yeah, I don't see why that would be like stand-up at all. They just want you to shut up and introduce the next person and keep it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you could always, you get a job working the PA at Target.
Yes.
It's kind of the same thing.
We need help in the deodorant aisle. That's actually the worst part is now everyone's stealing. So they had mean-looking security guards at the Target with funky glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy with he didn't look intimidating.
No,
but he still looked like he could throw you, but he had stupid
these wacky 1990 Macho King Randy Savage. That was a deep cut. Shades going on. And I'm not afraid of this, man.
No.
I'd be afraid of him without it, but
not with it. You clearly have a sense of humor.
Well, I'm at the age now where I'm like cops and security guys are younger than me now.
Yeah.
And this is like a newer thing. So like they're younger than me, so they are in better shape and yada yada, but they also look like stupid kids. Like I'm not really, I might trust them. Like, okay, maybe the bigger ones, okay, they can take me, but at the same time, like I don't trust you to make a great emergency split decision.
Right.
Like anytime I saw, like when I was living in New York City, this is a lot of the 2000 teens to get with the style. Like I saw so many guys trying to look authoritative with faux hawks.
It's tough.
I don't think you're in charge of my life.
It's tough. Our Justin Decker, well, he doesn't do comedy anymore, but he was my roommate in LA. Yeah. He had a great joke about faux hawks. It's like the faux hawk really tells you, it's like, hey, during the day, I sell insurance, but After 5 p.m., I'm at a Dave & Buster's and I'm getting a Michelob Ultra, and things are getting pretty wild. That's what a faux hawk says. I butchered that joke, but that was the gist of it.
That is.
Yeah, it's
Well, we flip flopped. I was a New Yorker for a while, and now I have moved back to San Diego, and you are a New Yorker.
Yes, yeah, we changed places, so that it was
passed the baton.
Yeah, we passed. Yeah, we high fived at the airport.
That's right.
And then we passed each other, and then I went over there, and you went over there. And who knows, with global warming, we might both end up in Denver, depending on where.
Yeah.
Emma's been looking up where global warming might affect the country the least. And so she's been asking me, she's like, where do you want to live? You want to live in Detroit?
It's not just the middle? Like, why would it?
It's kind of the middle,
why would
but
it not
up.
be okay, yeah.
So
makes sense.
like Denver is supposed to be kind of safer.
Oh, yeah.
Salt Lake City, Detroit, supposed to be a good place to live. I don't know.
Detroit's lovely this time of year.
This time of year? Yeah, I have no idea either.
Never
I just know that the Pontiac Silverdome,
Yeah.
93,000 people, daddy.
Yeah.
With the body slam. Andre, we're all here. We're talking wrestling. You and I guess this is,
You might as well, yeah.
we got to tell former professional wrestler and
Failed.
What does that mean?
Just it didn't work out.
What
Well,
does
the thing
that
about
mean?
wrestling versus comedy is when you no one quits comedy because you could be 80 and talking to a microphone. Wrestling will quit for you, and that's maybe the best thing because one day your body will just tell you, no, you're actually done.
Yeah.
Unless you want to be paralyzed or whatever the hell you are done. That's a nice thing. The comedy doesn't have that.
Right.
It's not like after 15, 20 years, like your voice goes.
Yeah.
And goes, nope.
It's because pro wrestling doesn't have an open mic.
Yeah.
There's no open ring where you can just show up with your tights and sign your name, and there's a bunch of guys in the back going, all right, now's my time. And they just, that would be funny if they did an open mic, open ring, battle royal, and you just keep calling them in, and then last man standing, you know?
Oh my God, how out of shape would everybody be?
Oh.
Yeah, no, wrestling was one. I would say wrestling and comedy. If it made money in the 80s, I'm chasing that in the 2000s. I'm a decision maker.
That's a good call. But yeah, when you and I met, because what year did you start comedy?
06.
Same year as me.
I was there for your first set. You ran into me.
Yes.
You had a bald shaved head. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
And you ran straight in. And I was a bigger, beefier guy. In the
yeah,
time.
you were a big
I was clanging and banging. I was hitting the weights. I was getting ripped and jacked and stacked and all that stuff, daddy. And and you ran straight into my back, and it was so fun. I wasn't mad. It was hilarious. And because you were so hyped to get to the stage when they called your name and everything else, and you crashed. It was at a warehouse in Sorrento Valley in San Diego.
Comedy Co-op. Do you remember the address?
No.
Oh, yeah.
No, I don't. Unfortunately.
There's a suite number in it.
It was one of those sweet, totally legal BYOB deals for college kids, LOL. And no trouble ever happened there whatsoever.
No, there's no knife fights.
No.
No one ever had to be ejected forcibly.
No.
Yeah, but that's where I met you, and my eyes lit up when you told me that you are a big wrestling fan, and you used to be a wrestler. You're trained by Off of the Wild Samoan. That's the
correct.
guy related to The Rock. And a bunch of other wrestlers, but The Rock being, of course, the most famous.
Yeah.
And then you and I, a couple years later, ended up having a wrestling match.
Yes.
Because we found, I think it was you or me, one of us found an indie promotion.
Oh, no, you called me.
Oh, I called you.
I was at one of the two girlfriends I've had. I was at her apartment, and I was just lamenting too, because I would have been 28 years old.
Yeah.
And my hips are already this, my neck is this, yada yada. And I remember you called and said, "Hey, I found this wrestling organization. What do you think about you and I? We trained for a few months with their school or whatever, and we do a wrestling match."
Yeah.
And I remember thinking real quick into my wrestling politician days, and I go, I didn't want to do it because I wasn't, I just didn't think I was healthy enough to do it. Yeah. And that didn't end well. And so I had gave you the choice. I said, tell them I'll do it if I can train you and be the only one who trains you with their ring.
Okay.
And in my head, they're not going to go for it.
Really?
And they went for it.
I had no idea that was
my
what.
plan.
Oh wow!
But I wasn't feeling well.
You set yourself up with an out, and they called your bluff.
Yes.
Ah.
And that's when I said to the then lady friend, I said, that didn't work. I think I'm a pro wrestler again.
I'm so
And
sorry.
that's all right. It was hilarious because
You could have said no.
no. Well, I can't though because you dangle the carrot. And I
Right.
can't, even if I want to say no, I can't say no because you're dangling. I just can't. Do
Yeah,
it.
you want to get in the ring.
I always got one more.
Yeah.
One more, brother. So I remember. I think the plan was I was going to wrestle one more match and I was going to be done because I was retired 5 years at that point.
Yeah.
And you were going to keep wrestling. And you wrestled one match and I kept wrestling.
And then I quit.
Yeah, you quit.
I
We did
went to one group session after our match, and I
Okay.
was still so sore
Yeah.
that we were like working with these guys, and I'm like, this sucks.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll just stick to comedy. Have fun, Bob.
And their group wasn't a tenth as brutal as Offa's.
No, I'm sure.
Because that was a
I'm
bump
sure.
school. That was just a hard ring in Pennsylvania, no heat, no air conditioning, warped boards, warped metal, and just bump, and just fall and get hurt all the time. So
That the ring we worked out in, I mean, I can't compare because I've only been in 2 rings. The one we worked out in and the one we had our match in.
yeah.
And those were different, but the ring we worked
are
out in
fine.
was in a backyard in a bad neighborhood.
Oof.
And I remember running the ropes and the boards would lift up in the middle.
Right.
When you were at one end, they would lift up and I'm like, that's probably not good. And you're like,
No.
yeah, don't land there. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh,
We're in the middle.
yeah,
Don't land there.
the-
The place we're supposed to land.
Not the hardest part of the ring.
Not
That's
the hard-
yeah, that's the apron.
It's not the most dangerous. But I wrestled for 3 years with the Thrash family, and I for 6 months in 2010, I was the Southern San Diego County Pro Wrestling Heavyweight Champion
Of the world.
and that is a huge responsibility.
Yes.
No, it's not.
They gave you a
It's fake.
giant belt. You had to keep it in your apartment.
That was actually pretty awesome. I won't lie to you.
Yeah.
I was also a tag team champion during 9/11. I want to make that point clear.
During the actual 9/11.
Yeah, because I had it from August through October of 2001
Wow.
in the Samoan group. So,
What was the tag team called that you were in?
oh God, that's right. One of the older wrestlers gave us the homophobic gimmick of being 2 guys because this is wrestling and this is Pennsylvania early 2000s. So
it's
gay is bad in that world.
Yeah.
So I got to keep being Bob, but the other guy, Nikki, had to be Neil.
So
Neil and Bob is the
Neil and
LOL
Bob.
pun. Yeah, like filleting men and stuff. And that was the joke they made. Hilarious.
Neil and
And also, yeah. Did you not know this? Did I tell you this? Yeah. It took you a second.
You've told me it before, and I just got
just
it.
kept-
It's a stupid name.
Just for 17 years, this finally just
Neil
kept
and
going over your head. Yeah.
Such
Right,
a
right.
bad-
You get it? So
I get it. That's so dumb. I get why they were so excited about it.
I was half a Neil and Bob. I think it took me a minute as well. But I got to keep being Bob, so it didn't hurt me as much.
Right.
But nevertheless, we would do it. And that would be that. Like, let's say I take a bump and then I go over and my buddy's on the apron and I crawl on my knees and I hug him like around the waist and
Yeah.
cry and it creates innuendo. Hilarious. So yeah, that's great for the 9-year-olds in a roller skating rink in Tamaqua, Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
Like, what
let's
was
teach
the-
these children
what was the
about
point?
homophobia. Let's
Right.
teach these people to boo gay people.
Yes.
These kids.
Basically, yeah. And
That's horrible. Oh, pro
it did
wrestling.
great. We got a great response. It was easy, but what was my original point? Anyway, we were the tag team champions during 9/11. That's when I found out the responsibility that a tag team champion in pro wrestling has to his community.
What's that?
Because I didn't realize that in times of tragedy and turmoil, when you're shocked and you're upset and you don't know what to do and your world's crumbling, the community is going to look to its nearest pro wrestling tag team champion. And it's not like I stepped forward, but like everyone else stepped back. And there I was, and it's just my turn to lead. So I was relieved when we lost the things to the Twin Tackles a month later.
The Twin Tackles.
Yeah.
Gene Snitsky?
He was one of them, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, he dumped me on my head pretty good.
Yeah, Gene Snitsky is a guy who ended up wrestling in the WWE.
Yes.
Best known for punting a baby into it was a doll, but it was supposed to be a real baby.
Yeah.
Punted a baby into like the 5th row.
Right.
And what was his catchtraphrase?
It's not my fault.
It's
It wasn't
not
my
my.
fault.
It wasn't my fault.
Yeah, yeah.
But this guy went
everything
to
he did to me was his fault.
Yeah.
100% his fault.
He legit dropped you on the top of your head.
He would land me high on. It wasn't so much the high. A lot of guys would carelessly dump you on your head. He would be the guy who he wouldn't let you take your. Oh, geez, who cares? Whatever. He's not going to find me.
Yeah.
We got along great, by the way. But I'm just saying, he was a fun guy. But he was him and his buddy, his partner Rob. They were trained to not really let you take your bump.
Oh.
Like, so you see like a big choke slam someone takes, the Undertaker, Big Show ride you down
Yeah.
and let you just kind of free fall and guide you, but you understand what's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But they would force you down.
Oh, spike you.
And they're both 6'6", 6'7", and put their arms in the air. I'm 9 feet in the air.
Wow.
And I'm 185 pounds at the time. Not that it really mattered. So they would just twist you, and you would just. When they pinned me for that, the wind was knocked out of me so bad. I was so happy that was the finish because I wasn't kicking out. So I was like, oh, good, because I'm glad that was the 3. Because guess what? I'm going to be here a minute, and that's going to be that.
So they dropped you on your head multiple times. It wasn't like one big incident.
What? I should actually take that back. I don't think they dropped me on my head. I think they kicked me in the head and dropped me so hard on my back all the time. Rob headbutted me in the groin legit really hard on a power bomb. But other guys did drop me on my head a lot. But just to be clear, I don't think the twin tackles dropped me on my head.
Okay,
so
for the record.
I apologize.
But I do like that we have finally figured out the origin of Bob is through numerous head injuries.
Yeah.
Yeah, the origin.
Well, that's just coming to me now.
Yeah.
I'm glad I put the pieces together for you because I wasn't going to get there.
I remember one of my favorite stories you said, you're wrestling in the Pennsylvania area, the Northeast, and they wanted a Mexican wrestler, a luchador, but they didn't have any Mexican wrestlers in the area, so Alpha put you in a mask and called you...
Not quite.
No?
I was Guy in a mask.
Guy in a mask.
But it wasn't a luchador mask.
Oh, it was just a regular mask.
It was like Robin, like Burt Ward, Robin or Zorro, just a black.
Oh, just a black.
Yeah.
So you look like a male stripper.
At one point, I think I was supposed to put on a luchador mask. That was the goal, and we threw it away. Because we need, I don't know, because Rey Mysterio was
really popular at the time, yeah.
And I would be like El Roberto Loco or something like that.
That was my favorite. His name was going to be El Roberto Loco.
It didn't happen, which is probably for the better. And by the way, we didn't think these things were like racist and stupid at the time. We were just idiots in Northeast Pennsylvania and just unaware of the rest of the world because we thought the world.
And a lot of this wasn't your call.
Yeah,
like I think that's another misconception of like comedians. We have so much freedom to say what we want to say on stage and do what we want to do. But in pro wrestling, it's not really your call. You're working for somebody and someone's like, we need a luchador. You're going to be a luchador. We're going to put you in a mask. And it's not like you can go, Alpha, not so much for me.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
He wasn't making all those decisions too. There was a lot of other people, but that's just the name people know. But yeah, I was Guy in a mask. I was Bob. I was Crazy Bob. That's where El Roberto Loco would have come in. I think they were supposed to know. I think that's the gag. Now that I think about it, people were supposed to know. And Neil and Bob, etc. So a lot of Bob versions.
Yeah, I used to get over Neil and Bob. It's so stupid.
Yep.
I love it.
We did it.
But you and I had our match. We trained in a backyard for like 3 months.
Yes.
And then we went and had our match. And it's still available on YouTube if you want to watch it. Zoltan versus Bob. It's the only thing that comes up.
Yep.
And that was the night we wrestled was actually my first hangover.
Yeah.
I'd never been hungover before. I had drank before, but I'd never been hungover. And the night before, I went out with Dane, and we were drinking an Encinitas at the office. And I made friends with a guy at the urinal, which is not something that usually happens.
Yeah, that's where I urinated my penis there.
Yeah. And he found out my name was Zoltan, I guess because we were talking. And he was like, that is so cool. I'm buying you shots. So then he bought us a bunch of shots of Jack Daniels. And I just remember we had Jack in the Box afterwards. I threw up all over Dane's bathroom.
Yeah.
Woke up the next day wicked hungover.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't go away. And I showed up to the YMCA downtown San Diego to wrestle Bob for my first ever match. I got my mom coming down, all my friends coming down. Yeah. I'm wicked hungover. I forgot my knee pads. I just remember you were... This is what I remember. I remember right before we went out for the match, you're doing like we're backstage, like behind the curtain.
Oh yeah.
And you're doing hack squats and push-ups. You're getting pumped up, and then you're quizzing me. You're like, "What do we do in this part of the match?" But while you're like doing push-ups and getting ready, I'm slumped over a water fountain, just trying to get as much water into my face because it all felt like sand.
I knew I was going to call it the in-ring anyway. Like I knew it backwards, forwards. And normally in a traditional like pro wrestling, it's like, okay, we call it in a ring. I don't like planning move for move, but also I was under the impression this was for both of us. This was our one and done match.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't train you to be a pro wrestler. I trained you to wrestle this match.
Right. Yeah.
And that was the plan, and that was it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, it was like, I'm going to teach you every move, every turnbuckle, every rope, everything you need to know to do this match.
Right. Go
out of the ring, yada yada yada. Which you didn't land on your feet and went square on your spine on the boards of the
I got thrown out of the. So this is. I dealt with a wrestling audience heckler. So while we were out there wrestling, there was one guy in the audience that just yelled boring like throughout the match. I don't know if you heard it. You
Nah.
probably don't. You had so many matches, you don't even particularly remember this one, probably. But I heard it, and it bothered me.
Yeah.
And then I was like, this guy's just saying
Yeah.
boring.
Yeah.
And there was a part in the match when you go to throw me outside of the ring,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I'll show him boring. I won't put my feet down to break my fall.
You taught him a lesson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll show you boring.
Yeah.
And I just like fell on my back on a basketball court, falling out of the ring. And you hear the sound on the YouTube
Right.
video.
It goes out of the camera, out of the screen.
And you just hear
but,
this weird thud.
but you knew because the people reacted. And you knew.
Oh, yeah. And then I just went, oh, no. Like it hurt so bad. And I had a lump on the side of my lower back for the next month.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, it hurt so bad. And I just remember being hungover. I remember I looked at you across the ring and I swear the whole room did a quarter turn. And I was like, oh, no. And then you gave me the first body slam and I tucked up too much and your finger poked me in the eye.
Really?
And so I was supposed to like say, oh, my back hurts. I have to like sell my back to go in the corner.
You don't
but
have to say that out loud, but
yeah.
yeah.
I thought I was.
What a terrible pro wrestler.
Yeah.
Like, just so they know.
But I was fixing my contact lens.
That's
So if you
right.
watch the video, I get body slammed and I go into the corner and I'm like fixing my contact lens because I can't see. And just, it was fun stuff.
I slapped the mouthpiece, the mouth guard out of your face.
Yes.
Which was hilarious. And my favorite part though was the chops because I was the bad guy, so I wanted you to get the last chop.
Yeah.
So we were trading the chops, which is an overdone thing nowadays. This is 2008. It wasn't as much of a crime.
It was kind of innovative at that time.
But I wanted you to get the better of it. You would get the last chop, and I'd rake your eyes. So at least as the bad guy, I'm still cheating after you get the better of me. But I know that every time I chop you, you have to chop me back.
Yeah.
And it was going to be like 1-2, 1-2.
Yeah.
And it was more like 4-5, like 5-6, because I knew like, oh, this is hilarious. Because no matter how many times I hit him, he has to hit me back, and he knows he has to take the last one before I rake the eyes. So I'm like, how can we drag this out? How many times can we just completely obliterate each other?
I think I lost half a nipple.
I know you did.
Yeah.
So I had a little fun.
It was a good time.
We had a jolly good romp.
Yeah. Pro wrestling, you have the great story where Luna Vachon bit a chunk of your skin off your back and ate it.
Yeah, I think we don't know where. I think she ate it. I mean, where did it
I
go?
think the story is better if we think she ate it.
Yeah, she ate it.
Yeah. So you show up that day. Luna Vachon, by the way, I grew up watching, manager of Bam Bam Bigelow when I watched in WWF. Daughter of Mad Dog Vachon, I believe, or niece or something.
Honestly, I forget which one.
But somehow related to an older, couple of older wrestlers. Shaved head, rock and roll looking, terrifying looking woman. Growly
blonde
voice.
Mohawk, shaved
blonde
head,
mohawk,
and the
shaved head,
veins
scary.
painted on,
And so you show up as a 20-something-year-old. How old are you?
22. I graduated college like 2 weeks before.
Yeah, so 22-year-old. You show up to the show and you find out you're wrestling Luna Vachon. Wasn't it two of you against her?
Yes, it was myself and another guy named Kevin the Behemoth. He was about 160 pounds.
Kevin the Behemoth.
Irony. Yeah. So it was the two of us versus this 42-year-old woman. Who now I'm older than. Goddamn. Sorry.
That's all right.
I didn't even think about that. But the time has passed. So, we find out we're wrestling Luna Vachon. And it's like a big deal. But the funny thing is, we should have been excited. We really weren't. We didn't know what we were going to do with her. And we knew if we screwed anything up, it was going to be an incident.
Right.
With the way things were wrestling for that company at the time. Like, we know if we make any mistakes, we're never going to hear the end of it. This is a death trap. It's better for us in our minds. It's better politically if we wrestle each other and no one in the back is going to watch anyway. So,
right, but now they're going to
really
watch.
good.
And what if it gets weird? What if things go wrong?
What if something goes wrong?
What did you get a chance to chat with her before the match?
Yeah,
and was she cool?
She was cool and pleasant with us, but at the same time, she wasn't too eager to talk too much with us, which we weren't surprised about.
Okay.
We knew she was going to be like obviously an old timer called in a ring type of thing. We knew, but she also knew we were green as grass. So we were greener than a pepper tree at the same time, as is. So greener than your Bob Squad shirt, which you can get at the link tree. Never mind. And stop it. No, sorry. And so she knew that okay, let me talk to them. I'll tell them to finish and yada yada yada. And okay, that was good enough. And I think another female referee was gonna run in And together, her and Luna were going to clothesline us and kick us in the groin because we're dudes or something, and I don't know, whatever. And something of that nature. But the things didn't work out well. Because it's a shame because there's been like a Vice TV, like Dark Side of the Ring.
Yeah, if you want to
thing.
learn about Miss Vachon, there's stuff out there.
So she wasn't in a good physical condition to be doing this.
Or mental condition.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
She was not in the right state of mind to be wrestling this match. And I hate to speak ill because she's passed away since then, but it wasn't good. And we knew it, and I knew it too. And I think that's what angered me. I felt there was some denial on some other people's parts when I know that day how many wrestlers were ribbing me like, she's in a state of mind. You're gonna have a good time. Like
so everyone knew.
I don't know about everyone, but there were a few who knew, and I think pretended they didn't know after the fact. I think they all got their versions of the story. I would find out when that stupid documentary aired like a year and a half ago.
Right.
I'm getting messages now.
But when did the match like turn and then where
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
So we do this move that I can't believe that Kevin the Behemoth suggested, and I can't believe she went for it. Where we go to double clothesliner, we join hands like a do-si-do, and she ducks it, and I go to kick her, and she catches my foot, an inseguri, I guess the kids call it, and with my planted foot, I try to swing around and kick her in the head, but she ducks, and I kick my partner instead.
Oh, okay.
And I remember thinking, no way in hell is this happening. And it happened. And like, perfect. I can't believe this spot worked. This match could end right now. It was the first thing we did. And of course, after I kicked my partner accidentally, I look at my partner, I can't believe I did that. I'm an unintelligent human being. And then I would turn around and she'd give me the clothesline and then give him the clothesline and punch me. We'd feed her, yada, yada, yada. Feed 4, I'm sorry. And then she'd hit us with a thing and hit. Yeah. So I'm waiting for that clothesline and she looks at me and I'm like, I'm waiting for the line. That part was her call. So I'm like, okay. And she's looking at me and she's not saying, right. I don't know. Is she blanking? Is she having a moment?
She's just staring at you.
She's staring at me and I'm waiting for that line. I'm like, I can't. And then she just freaks out and she goes like, son of a bitch or something. And she's got these long, I should have mentioned, 1.5 inch fingernails. And suddenly those fingernails, they're in my eyes. They're in my mouth. They're in my nose. And it's like.
And she's trying to hurt you.
Oh, yeah, she's getting in there. She's in my gums. She's scratching. She's how like when a cartoon gets his face slammed on a barbecue grill?
Yes.
And then he comes up and it's just like this, like his face is just a hashtag now.
Yeah.
Like that's what I was.
Wow.
Yeah, I was just grabbed. So, I had put my hands up and blocked. I'm just hoping she just throws punches or whatever. And there were a few more moves in the match. I don't remember anything else about it. It didn't really go well. But then there was one time where Behemoth, she comes at him with the double axe handle because she wants to be cut off.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to kick her in the gut, but he doesn't really know that.
Oh.
I knew that. Like I barely knew that at my stage of the game, but he didn't know that.
So he didn't.
And she was getting mad. And because now she's not getting axe handled, so she has to actually axe handle him. And then he tags me and we start going home and I'm like, this isn't good. So I go to shoot her out of the corner. We're going home and she doesn't let me. She pulls on a rope. She won't let me shoot her out of the corner.
Yeah.
And I knew, okay, she wants me to hit her with something so she can be weakened and sell going out of the corner.
Okay.
So I'm like, I give her like a forearm to the back. And I'm 22, so I think 42 is ancient. You know what I mean? And I know you don't want to hurt her because I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
At the same time. So I give her like a little club on the back and I pull her and she won't go. And I'm hoping she just tells me what to do.
Right.
And she's just snarling and in character. And her voice is very gravelly as it is. And she's just in character, but 2 inches from my face. I'm like, that's not good. That's a bad sign. So I pull her a second time. It's like the 3 bears in a porridge story. It's always rule of 3. This is how these things happen. Second time, she won't go. And I hit her just a little more.
Mm-hmm.
And then because now I know in the older timing mentality, give me something to sell, hit me a bit.
Yeah.
Let the people see it. So second time won't go. And I'm like, well, she really wants me to hit her because why else won't she go out of the corner? She wants me. So I clubbed her with still a safe forearm up in the upper back, and I'm sure
harder.
And I wasn't that much I was a heavier hitter later when I wrestled for the San Diego guys. I'm sure I was still hitting too light, but I hit her in a much, much harder forearm the third time. Just like, please, what is good enough to get you out of the corner so we can go home and this can be over and I'll get made fun of for a day and then we can move on forever. That's what I wanted because that's how I knew where this was going. And that third time I hit her and she goes, son of a bitch. And here come the flying
Again.
fingers. Yeah, second time. So being the college graduate that I had recently become 2 weeks earlier, I using my noodle, a terrible idea. I swatted her away and I turned my back to her. And now she's choking me. Like she's riding my back, piggyback. She's choking me.
Wow.
And I know her then husband at the time, Gangrel, famous WWF wrestler.
Yeah.
He's up in a balcony. He's watching the whole thing, and he's a super sweet, nice guy. But I didn't know that yet.
Yeah.
And he's watching that, and I hear her whisper in my ear, "Tap, or I'll effing kill you."
Whoa,
is what she said. And
this isn't for the audience.
No,
this is for you.
This is from here to here. And I feel something dripping down my back, and I figure she drooled or spit or threw up or something.
Yeah.
Dripping down my back. And I knew one of two things. I'll kill you is she's going to kill me or the giant vampire husband will. Then one or the other. I'm like, well, it doesn't really matter. One way or another, this isn't going to go well. So I just went down, and the referee, to his chagrin, I put my hand way out long so everyone can see it. So I didn't want him screwing me and saying the match is still going on. I put my hand way out long and just did a big exaggerated tap.
Yeah.
So because I knew then enough, like I want these 22 people in the audience to see.
There's only 22.
I don't know how many. It was probably something like it wasn't. We weren't breaking 50. So so yeah, I made sure that he saw it. So that I was like, yep, you got to call it. And knowing that he knew that wasn't the finish, and he's like, this is not going to be good. I'm like, you bet. Well, it's over.
Yeah.
And I left through the crowd.
Oh, you didn't even go through the...
No.
Wow.
No, I went through the locker room. And it was a big hullabaloo and yada, yada, yada. But I'll fast forward to 2 days later. I had to go to the hospital. Well, that night I had to go to the hospital, get a tetanus.
Tetanus? And you had to explain to a doctor that a woman bit a chunk of your back.
So I had to explain to a doctor who is a guy like Indian, thick Indian accent, and clearly not a pro wrestler. I had to explain to him what pro wrestling was and how I got this, wrestling this woman whose real name I don't know, and why there were families watching this fight, and why she bit me, and I had a lot of explaining to do, and it didn't work. And finally, I don't remember how that ended, but 2 days later, we had the Samoan picnic in Allentown. It's got the pig and the roast and the apple and the whole thing. And she does the apologies speech, and everyone, their mother is coming up to me telling me what I did wrong. And I think Afi even said after the fact, it's like, the problem is you try to wrestle her. She's brawling, punch, kick. And you tried to, because I was doing front face locks and stuff.
Oh, okay.
I had told her, one thing I asked her, can you backdrop me? I take a good backdrop. You want to? And she said, no, my knees, don't do that.
Okay.
We'll just brawl. I'm like, okay, cool. But I didn't know what else to do, like, because I couldn't risk hurting Luna Vachon.
Right.
I didn't know yet. You probably can't hurt Luna Vachon if you try.
Yeah.
If I tried, I couldn't. But I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Again, I'm 22, so I think 42 is a grandma.
Not only are you...
she's tough as nails. But
tough, of course, tough as nails, but not only are you wrestling a wrestling legend and you're new, so you want to be respectful.
Right.
But on top of that, you're wrestling an older woman.
Woman twice my age.
A woman twice your age, so you're like just trying to not mess up and not hurt and get out of this.
I'm slapping that hammerlock on and cranking like I'm just trying to let's not have a bad incident, LOL. But anyway, she gives the performative apology, which is really for the show and the boys, the wrestlers and everything else. I'm so sorry. I just wanted to make the match good for Pops, which is Afa's Pops. I want to make the match good for Pops. And everyone's like, oh, okay, this is great. I'm like, oh, thank you. No, I played nice. And Gangrel comes up to me after.
Her giant
vampire husband. With the teeth in and everything else. And he comes up to me and he says, hey, man, I just want to let you know something. I saw that match, and I think he's going to say something menacing and threatening, and I'm a little nervous. But again, he was super friendly, so I was like, okay, and there's people around. So he goes, I just want you to know, if that ever happens again while you're wrestling my wife, I want you to punch her in the face as hard as you can. Because that was ridiculous. And I was like, okay. And I think he was being nice, too. He was being He isn't really, but he was a sweet guy.
It's not every day that someone's husband will go, hey, if my wife gets out of line with you like that again at work, feel free to just haul off and hit her in the face.
Yeah, he was...
I'm sure he was joking.
Yeah, no,
but
I think he was messing around.
Yeah,
and he was trying to make me smile because of the whole thing. And then we ate a dead pig.
Then you ate a dead pig.
Apple in a mouth and all.
I love it. Well, how long have we been going? Oh, that's a great episode right there. I think that's a good place to end. Bob, tell the good people where they can find you on the social medias and all that good stuff.
The best thing to do is use the Instagram. It's a popular social media video and photograph sharing platform. I mean, you heard about this? You read about this?
Yes, I have.
Okay, and it's at Bob Hansen Jokes, my link tree. You can get your own shirt. You can pick your color. You can join the Bob Squad. I'll tell you something about the Bob Squad, Daddy.
What's that?
It's not what we do. It's what we don't do.
Oh.
And you know what we don't do? Stop rocking.
All right. We never stop rocking, Daddy.
Don't
the
stop
one and
rocking,
only
Daddy.
Bob Hansen. Give him a follow. Check him out on YouTube on all the social medias. Thank you so much for being on this episode. Love you,
Thank you.
bud. And thank you all for listening, downloading, sharing, subscribing, doing whatever you do to watch us. Cheers, everybody. I don't know what this move was, but I already did.
Trekking, heavier traveling light. There's one thing that's right wherever I go. That's where I